Hi, welcome back to Welcome Home Humanity. I'm going to be talking about shame, something that I've become more and more aware of as being at the roots of so many of our problems and issues, particularly in those people that come to see me. We need a definition of shame, which I've extracted from Wikipedia, which is only just one source that I use, certainly not the only one. Shame is a painful social emotion that can be seen as resulting from comparison of the self's action with the self's standards. And it goes on, to have shame means to maintain a sense of restraint against offending others, as with modesty, humility and deference, while to have no shame, or to be shameless, is to behave without such restraint, as with excessive pride or hubris. And I've talked a lot in the earlier videos about the clash between the narcissist on one side and the so-called victim on the other. The victim who, if insulted and gaslighted and abused, often holds the shame of the encounter deep down within them. And it is clear that if there is abuse in childhood, the child is either consciously or subconsciously shamed. And if that shame is held inside them, a feeling of unworthiness, that can persist. And as that child grows into adulthood, maybe a similar pattern will occur with their partner, who may be attracted to this other person, if that partner has narcissistic tendencies, to just compound the problem, compound the trauma. Or it can still happen, it can happen later in that person's employment or on social media when they're bullied. And there's a tipping point where the body doesn't cope, and anxiety, insomnia, depression, not only that, but physical illness, immune problems result. So this is a terribly important issue when it comes to us dealing with complex medical problems and emotional problems, which so often are intertwined. I recently saw a great video interview with Sam Vaknin, who is the self-proclaimed and aware person with a severe form of narcissistic personality disorder by his own admission. But he addresses this and I believe tries to understand this and without probably feeling a lot of love in his body has taken the step to teach others about narcissism. And he has a very interesting insight from his own life. He suggests that many of those with the most severe narcissistic personality disorders have a similar background of abuse in childhood. But rather than having this abuse imbued in them, they have taken another approach of pushing it and projecting it onto others. And this becomes a lifelong habit and can result in the person being very successful in business and organizations. So interesting enough, both the abuser and the abused may have a similar past, different reactions, if you like, to complex post-traumatic stress. Now the positive thing about this is that the abuser, the narcissist, if they were at all willing, and this doesn't mean the majority maybe, but a small number are willing, they can change and be healed, albeit with probably some difficulty. And that is the positive part of this. If we were just looking at pure personality disorders embedded in us, then it is unlikely that we will change. But if we understand the trauma, that trauma can somehow, the effects of that trauma can be deleted. I have to say that those who, with narcissistic personality disorder, who have had lifelong history of abusing and insulting others, will have to start start opening their heart to a conscience and bearing the shame. And it will be a difficult process. Sam himself has invited narcissists, presumably fairly wealthy ones, to attend one-on-one courses with him called cold therapy courses, and it appears that he is pretty strict with them. In fact, he acts very much like a disciplinary parent figure and can almost insult them, but actually has to bring them back into childhood. And we have to be careful that there are those extreme psychopaths that appear to be born that way, that may well blame their past, but in fact their sadistic nature is so inbuilt that may not change. So we have to be aware of those who will cry victim. But having said this, I think this is very encouraging, because to really understand this shame that we feel, we need to understand the shamers and how they project their own shame without possibly integrating it onto others. And we also have to look at our own upbringing, our education, political dogma, religious dogma. There's a sculpture by Rodin of Eve holding her head down in shame after the fall, after performing, in her view, and what was told to her was the original sin. And I think we hold, certainly in the Judeo-Christian world, a lot of this ourselves. So a few insights into shame. I believe that this is hugely important, and it will perfuse the following videos when we talk about this in relation to different industries, occupations, professions, and organisations. So thank you for listening. See you later. Bye. Just one more thing before I upload this video. This pattern of the shamer, the abuser, the narcissist, projecting their shame onto others, of course, lends a huge amount of understanding into how abusers, the abused, can become the abusers of the next generation, and how that can perpetuate through generations. What we've seen in the church scandals, for instance, how the abused becomes the abuser, a never-ending cycle. And we need to understand this if we're going to stop this happening for our children, grandchildren, and future generations. See you later. Bye.